everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of The Recovery Scene. Tonight, I have Justin Edson here. Justin, you said that your addiction kind of started around 19 and then that just quote a slew of bad things happened, which kind of sums up addiction, fairly well. I'm going to hand the floor over to you and let you go ahead and tell us all about it.
Thank you. I'd have to say I've always drank, as a teen, but I'd say more so 18, 19, I started drinking a little bit more. It slowly just kind of became, it was a fun thing at first, for most people. And I guess as I got into the work world of construction, I realized that there were a lot of men that drank, and drinking, I guess made me a man. So I started to do it more. And then, I don't know, before I knew it, time had gone on. I slowly went from drinking weekends to drinking 18 pack a night, to a 30 pack, to staying pretty consistent with that. And then the trouble with the law and things like that started to unfold.
It kind of sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Like you're just drinking with friends, and then the next thing you know, you're at a 30 pack a night.
Exactly.
It's not.
And I'm not a drinker that can have one drink, and if I'm going all the way. So
yeah. It's like when people talk about addiction and how they say it's a choice, and we always talk about, they made the same choice that billions of, quote unquote, normal people, normies, did, to drink with friends. Yes. And it just progressed, and it's before you even realize it, boom, you're an alcoholic. It's
exactly
insane.
My eye opener for me was when I had first gotten in trouble with the law ever in my life. And they were telling me, I'm an alcoholic, and because I'm telling them, and lying to them, thinking, I'll tell them I just drink an 18 pack on the weekends. And I remember telling them that, and they looked at me like, are you kidding me? And that was me lying. So I was shocked when they looked back at me, and like, I thought they were going to be okay with it, but they weren't.
Right. Now, did you get pulled over? Is that what happened?
So no, I unfortunately got a domestic violence case, which was later dropped to a battery. That stemmed from my wife. This will open up a whole lot more stuff.
It really does.
my wife has never been a fan of my drinking. Never. I would come home after work drunk, and she'd be pissed and just mad. And I started over time kind of rebelling against her. I started using her anger as an excuse to get out. So I would, in a sense, hope to piss her off. So I had an excuse to leave, to go drink more.
Yeah, we're not the greatest of people when we're in our active addiction.
No. So I had finally came to an agreement with her, but I knew the whole time I'm lying. I told her I would no longer drink Monday through Friday, that I would only drink on weekends. That lasted for about 2 years in her eyes before she realized I was drinking during the week. She had caught me. I had came home, and she didn't want me to leave, because my first reaction was always to leave. And when she had blocked the door, I had pushed her out of the way so that I could leave. And she then had said that, she was going to then call the police, and that's how that had taken off. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until then that I knew that I had actually had a problem, because they put an ankle monitor on my ankle for 49 days it was an alcohol monitor. And I hated every bit of it. I made it 49 days. I made it 49 days. And then on the 50th day, went out and drank right away. Second it came up. And then I looped my way through all of that probation term. Well, actually, I take that back. I looped my way through about 5 months of that probation term and caught another charge, drunk. I went to a concert, Bottle Rock, here in Napa. It's a big festival that we have once a year, but lately due to COVID, we haven't been having it. We went there to have a good time. And I'd say probably around 10 o'clock at night was around the time I had blacked out, checked out, I guess. We had left, and shortly after leaving the festival, I was tackled by 6 police officers. I guess I had taken off on a car, blacked out drunk, and my response in the police report was that the people in the car were shooting me.
So
that's how gone. I'm sorry?
Did you steal? What did you do to the car? Did you steal the car?
So the festival is, I mean, there's thousands of people there, and we're all pouring out of this festival, and there's cars being directed by police officers everywhere. And we're walking down the street, and there's a 4-way intersection, and there's probably 200 people getting ready to walk across too. Mind you, I'm not in myself at this time.
Right.
And I thought I heard somebody yelling at me or something. So I guess I took off. I decided to punch the front of a car's window.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it shattered. Well, when I did that, it was in front of police trafficking this event. So they all just tackled me. It wound up turning into like a big deal. I wound up, catching another charge over that, a vandalism charge, which luckily was the last thing I've ever been in trouble for. But still, it wasn't enough. I finished out all my probation like that. I found that gray area and I drank all the way through.
Yep. I did the same thing. Alcohol was my main drug. I did the exact same thing. You find out when they're gonna, I don't know how they do it there, but in Michigan, where I was living, they give you a color and you have to call the number. And if your color comes up, you go in for your drug test. It tests for everything, including alcohol. So I would know when to stop drinking and start drinking water, just in case. Yeah, we all think we are so smart.
Well, we think we are, but we aren't at the same time.
Right.
After that, things just, I don't know. I guess they kind of got better. Like for a while, it was kind of just blanketed in a sense. I think people just ignored it. And then a big event had happened for us. My wife and 2 kids, we lost our house after 7 years of living there.
Oh, wow.
Renting due to having an animal. That I had never thought we were going to actually get caught for having an animal, because it's hard to find anywhere to live in California and have animals.
Really? California is not like a pet friendly state, huh?
No.
Wow.
Well, when it comes to pit bulls, and if you're renting, no.
The stigma of pit bulls. Yes.
Yeah. So that, when we got evicted from there, I was shook. I was pretty stable. Life was going good. I was still an alcoholic, but managing it. I wasn't drinking from sun up to sundown yet. I was managing myself basically. And then I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
That's all right. So you were kind of like maintaining.
Yeah, I was just maintaining. Oh, the loss of our house. So right. I was just maintaining. And when we had lost our place and had nowhere to go, the house we were renting was fairly cheap. And where I live in Napa, it is very expensive here. it is not easy for young people like myself to raise a family in a town like this. So we had to move in with their parents. I had to set my pride aside, my ego, all that. It was, totally humbling. But that drove me in even deeper into alcoholism. So I kept drinking and drinking and drinking. And then right before the day-to-day stuff started happening, I was just getting ready to jump jobs. I moved over to a concrete company and started working there. And a lot of those guys drink pretty heavily. And so I started drinking heavily with them, even more than I was already drinking during the day.
That is a thing. I mean, and this is not all blue collar workers are alcoholics. That's not at all what I'm about to say. But my dad made an excellent living. He was absolutely a blue collar worker. He was a pipe fitter for Chrysler for 25 years. How that man never drank is beyond me, because it's kind of like a culture. It's like a way of life. I mean, that's what you did in Michigan and Detroit and the surrounding areas. You went to work for like 12 hours, either at the factory or, if you were, say, a pipe fitter or the, electrician or whatever. You came home, or you got with the guys, you drank your beer, you went to bed, you did it again. Like, that's just how life was, you know? And I'm to this day blown away, because every time we went to my quote unquote uncle's houses, I mean, the beer was just stacked,
Oh yeah, always.
And nobody batted an eye. Nobody thought it was bizarre, or strange or anything. My dad had a partner who he would constantly cover for, because he would be still drunk the next day and he would have to sleep it off.
Wow.
And they were best friends, and my dad would cover for him. It was wild. Yeah.
We had a lot of people covering for us as well out there in the field. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type situation. Excuse me. But yeah, when we started getting those long distance jobs out in the middle of nowhere, and we were able to pretty much drink from start to finish, I mean, at the time I thought I was loving it. I thought I was in heaven. I got to work, drink while I'm working. Everything was, going good.
Right. And there's nobody there to give you any crap for it.
Exactly. Except my wife.
Right.
So then as work went on with the new company, I was starting to come home, drunk all the time. She was noticing it. And I was starting to realize I could no longer, I had to drink now all the time. So I started lying to her about it. I got out of that job, wound up going to another job, and then lying my whole way through that while drinking on the job the whole time. I'm pretty sure he knew, but he never said anything to me.
Right, because it's like, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, nobody kind of.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I would justify it in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, I was starting to wake up with two shots with my coffee every morning. I was
going to ask you, at this point where and people would think that when, you got arrested twice and, all this stuff, that you would be thinking, I'm probably an alcoholic, but we don't.
Mm-mm.
We don't.
No, I was running from everything but that. The second I got in trouble, my first thought was defense when it came to alcohol. No one's gonna, because I knew everyone was gonna jump on that one. Everyone was gonna have something to say about the alcohol, and I wanted no part in that. So I told everybody, if you think that's happening, get out of here. You're out of your mind. It's never gonna happen. You know where the fucking door, excuse my language, the door is at.
All right.
It's never going to happen. That was my attitude. And man, it had a hold of me.
Yeah, nobody wants, and this is another thing I try and tell people, nobody chooses to be an addict or an alcoholic. You don't even know it's happening. The chemistry in your brain has changed. scientifically proven that it changes. Nobody wants to be an addict, and nobody wants to admit they're an addict or an alcoholic either. Who wants to do that?
That was really hard for me to do as well. But I've grown up around it. I always thought it was normal. You know, everybody drank. I mean, and still everybody still drinks around me. I just don't know.
Right. So you go to this third job and you're drinking the whole time, but boss isn't saying anything, but wife is onto you.
Yes. So wife's on to me. So I'm going back into the whole, okay, you know, if I can get her, you know, she'll just get mad at me. I'll just leave, whatever. She's always mad at me now, so it's no big deal. Well, I hadn't seen my grandma in about 10 years, and she had came down to visit, and it was her last day here, which made me feel horrible as well. It was her last day here. I came home. Carly had asked me, my wife had asked me if I wouldn't drink. I did. I came home. It was an argument. I decided to leave. When I left that night, I wound up driving to my best friend's house, or my best friend's gravesite, and drank a lot at his gravesite. Leaving there. I don't even remember leaving there. And then my tire popped. Don't even remember my tire popping. I just remember calling my friend thinking I have to get on the road to get home. So I called my buddy Ben, and I drove with a flat to his house, and he jacked the car up and put my spare on, and then gave me a beer as I hopped into the car and cracked it open while I drove away. I didn't make it but a quarter mile before I smashed into the back of this lady's truck and completely demolished my car. I had no brakes, no nothing.
Oh, wow.
And the craziest thing that happened from that was I was sitting there, I knew the world was coming down, and I was going to have to answer to everything, all this. The car wasn't in my name at the time. I had just bought it. It wasn't in my name. No registration, no insurance. I just got it. I hadn't done any of the paperwork process on this car. So on top of no information, drunk, accident with injury, the girl's claiming she had a neck injury. On top of all this stuff, before the cops are called, I run over to this guy's car and I pretty much begged them, I'll give you $1,000 in cash right now if you do not call the cops. And that was when I realized she was complaining about neck injuries. So then I called my wife, and I started to think about a way out. And I said, I just bought this car. It's not attached to me at all.
Right.
I might run. I'm going to run. And she was like, you can't do that. I said, there's nothing they can do. How are they going to know? And it was more so, just having to live with that. And right. So I, just said, okay, well, even then it wasn't enough. I still turned it around, was like, well, then you get your ass down here before the cops come and you say you were driving. That was the second thing. She's fuming by this point.
I bet.
I'm just, I'm just sitting there and waiting to have to answer to all this stuff. Her family shows up, and there's about 15 people out there by her car. It's just me. I pushed my car off the road because I was worried that if a cop drove by, they'd get me on the road. Maybe I could lie about my car, something, just get my car off the road. So I'm sitting there. There's about 15 people over there by her car. I'm waiting for my wife. They come rolling in right before the police officer shows up. He pulls in. And I told him, or he pulls in, and I looked at my wife's mom and I asked her, I said, do you have any coffee? And she did. So I grabbed the coffee from her and I took a couple swigs off it before the police officer walked up to me. And when he walked up to me, he asked me, what's going on here? I said, I wasn't paying attention. And that lady was stopped at a red light and I just smashed into her. And he walked over to them as I sat there with my wife, and he comes back over and he just looks at me and he says, I'm going to do you the biggest favor anybody's ever done tonight. And I looked at him and I said, what's that? He goes, get in your car and fucking leave. I take that back. He says, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
My car's busted. I had to get a ride home from my mother-in-law, who was parked right there. So he tells me to get the fuck out of here, and your car better be gone by the time I pass here in the morning. The car that I pushed off the side of the road. I mean, it was busted. So he says that. I'm in complete shock. I look up at him and I say, I don't know what to say. And I go to shake his hand and he goes, I don't want to shake your fucking hand. He goes, I can smell the alcohol on your breath right now. And I know I can take you down for a DUI and all this other stuff. He goes, get the fuck out of here. And my wife started screaming at me, and he looked at my wife and said, do you want to go to jail tonight? And my wife, stopped talking, and we turned around and I had actually left with her mother-in-law. She stayed behind for the tow truck driver to pick up my car.
Oh, wow. The other girl couldn't have been too happy about that, though.
I don't know. So I didn't get scot-free off of that. There was an insurance agency that contacted me, and I do have to pay for the damage of the vehicle, which I have. Mm-hmm. But other than that, that was it. And I looked at that as a huge, huge, huge sign. Get it together now, or it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that was something else.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were looking at a lot of problems.
Prison time. Yeah. For sure.
Wow. All right. So what did you do after that?
So after that, I still had, some hiccups. I was trying. My first goal was to just drive to work. Don't stop. When I see the store I stop at every single morning to pick up my shots, don't stop. And the first couple days I stopped. Maybe even the first week or two I stopped. But I remember I didn't stop one day, and I didn't stop again the next day, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day. And I'd say about 2 months went by, and I got curious, and I drank half of Mike's Hard Lemonade. Face the guilt, the disgust, the memories, all the just tarnish I've done in my past because of it. I just didn't want that. So I told my wife that I had drank half that, and but I don't plan to drink ever again.
Now, did you go through any kind of withdrawal? Because I mean, you were drinking heavily.
Yeah, I had lots of withdrawals. Mood swings. It took me about 6 months before I could go out in front of people, to people. It took me a while. My first wedding was really tough. The photo booth back when I was drinking. I mean, as time goes on, I'm getting a lot more of myself again. Mm-hmm. But the photo booth was my thing at weddings. I'm all up in there with everything. And I had everyone calling me, come into the photo booth. And I just felt anger. I didn't want to. And I kept feeling like angry at them, but I had to hide it. I couldn't show that because it's not my wedding. It's not my day. It's not about me. So I had to go in there and, put a fake smile on. And I did. And I'm glad I did, because that was like a gate that had been just broken down. And ever since then, it just became easier. And then I'd say around 8 or 9 months, I just broke free of it in a way.
Yeah. When it comes
Like
to
in AA, they
recovery,
talk about, you know, like finding your higher power and things like that.
Mhm.
I never, or your spiritual awakening. I never ever understood that. And I'm like, spiritual what? These guys are crazy. And then that's as close to a spiritual real, like that I can see. I don't know. Or spiritual experience, I guess.
Yeah, it's when we stick with it. And I was saying, you know, in order for recovery to be successful, you've got to step out of that comfort zone.
Yes.
Got to be uncomfortable, and that's how you break down that barrier. You know, we don't get to go around it or over it. We have to bash our way through it, and it's the only way to do it. And the more we do it, it's like something just kind of clicks one day. And and it's almost like you remember who you used to be. You remember how to have fun. You remember how to go to work and how to talk to people. And it's wild. It's kind of like anti-addiction, you know, like it's the opposite, because you don't notice that either until you're like, wait a minute, I'm having fun. Like,
yeah. And you can have fun sober. And that's what I've told all, and I feel so cliche when I say it, but I always say, if I can do it, you can do it. And my friends, and I always tell them too, I'm like, I used to hate people telling me that, but they saw me there. So, you know, you can do it.
Right.
Because I'm 18 months free of it.
Right. Our cliches are even more annoying when they're right. When they're true.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of it stemmed from just I come from a rough upbringing too, with my mom, my dad, losing them at a young age. And
that's right.
I think stems from a lot of that.
That's right. Because your parents both died of suicide, didn't they?
Yes. My mom, my dad in 2006 by gun, and my mom in 2007 by narcotics.
Oh.
And they were both addicts.
Oh, wow. So it's also in the family.
Oh yeah. It's my whole family are addicts. I'm the only one. I think I actually am the only one that's not now.
Oh, wow. And you said you got 18 months?
18 months. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That is awesome. So how are things going now? You're still with your wife? Because let me tell you, that woman loves you.
Oh. Of course I'm still with my wife. I can't get rid of her. She's the one that keeps me on these paths.
I know. You know, that is the same as my husband. And I'll ask him why. Because we got married. Why? I mean, I was drinking then. You know, we were dating, we got married, and I said, why are you still here? And he would always say, because I could see the person you were going to be.
That's what my wife always tells me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Found a couple of good ones. We better.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And are you out of her parents' house now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We've been out for a while. I'm back in. We have our own house, renting still. But yeah, have our own house, working, just doing the family life, trying to stay as busy as possible, jumping on this new TikTok thing. It's been like 4 days for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell people where they can find you on TikTok.
You can find me at Justin Edson 1 is my tag at.
All right. That is awesome. Thank you so much.